Hey guys, so in this video you're going to get to see it all. The pouring, the finishing, the saw cutting, the complete package of what we do just about every single day when we pour concrete. Now, a lot of times I don't hang around for the finishing part. Darren and Luke do that, but today you'll get to see me running the power trowel. Now, first thing first is we got to get this thing poured. It's 25 by 20. We're just starting this job. This is the pool house section. We still have all the concrete pool deck to do, which is going to be a little over 2,000 square feet. So that'll be coming up in the next few days. But today we basically formed up on the outside of this foundation wall. This has a frost wall under it. So we tap conned our forms right onto the wall. Those walls, concrete walls, go down into the ground about 4 feet. We live in Maine. We get a lot of frost in the winter, and the frost will go down about 48 inches. So they didn't want this thing to move, so they put the frost wall under it. And we just tap conned right on the top of it. We set those right to grade using, we got a self-leveling laser set up over there to the left. You can see it a little bit. It's our DeWalt self-leveling laser. And then another pretty cool tool we're using is right down here in front on the left is our handheld battery-operated vibration tool. So we're going to vibrate the edges using the pencil vibrator. Another good, cool tool by DeWalt. So that's going to be a good thing to see. Now again, the first thing we got to do is get this thing poured out. So we're pouring the concrete out. It's about 4 to 5 inches thick. Got wire mesh down. We're using our typical 3,500 PSI floor mix. We got water reducer in it for you guys that somehow think that concrete poured wet is weak. This is actually stronger than your 3 slump, very stiff concrete. And then we got fiber mesh in it too for reinforcement. So, and one other tip, guys, for you guys that don't know anything about concrete, because I get asked this a lot. Well, you're pulling the wire up, but then you're walking it right back down to the bottom. Once you get that wire pulled up into the concrete's got rocks under it. The rocks hold the wire up into the concrete as you step back on it. So not an issue, never been an issue. Been doing it 45 years. It's never been an issue. Now you can let everybody else know. You can tell I get asked that a lot. So we're actually using, that's called a conveyor truck. That conveyor off the back of that truck will reach about 40 feet. So the access was a little limited here. We didn't want to get the truck too close to the pool itself. And then, there wasn't enough gravel over there to get it quite square back up to the pad. So we asked for the conveyor truck just in case we needed it. And when he got backed in there, we decided just to use it. They do charge a little bit extra for that. But it's, as you can see, it puts it right where you need it, and it's well worth it. Now there I am using the pencil vibrator. Very lightweight, very fast. Just gets those edges really nice and clean. So today, after we get it power troweled, we actually saw cut it. Right after we take the power trowel off this thing, we get it saw cut. And then we also remove the forms too. We get the forms right out of the way on the same day. That's how quick this stuff sets up. Now it's about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, and I can tell you, we got done all power troweled and sawed before noontime today. We also had something else to deal with here. I'll talk about a little bit later in the video that, most days we don't have to deal with this. But today it was a little bit of an issue for us. But with experience, a little bit of experience, this type of thing before in the past, and having the right tools to deal with it actually made it pretty easy today. Now we decided not to break out the power screed because this slab is pretty small. I talk about that in some of my other videos. Sometimes it's just as easy to screed by hand like we're doing here today versus breaking out the power screed. So that's what we decided to do. And then, sometimes getting around, you can see it's got some pipes in there for some plumbing. Sometimes getting around those pipes can be a little tricky with a power screed, and you can actually get it a little bit flatter, a little bit easier to go around, even quicker sometimes just doing it by hand. Now Darren, he's screeding right off top of the form. That's one really important aspect of setting your forms to grade and not having all these pins or stakes sticking up by the form. Is you can screed right off the top. Makes things pretty easy. Makes it pretty fast. Now concrete deck around the pool. We're actually working for the pool guy here today. A lot of times we work for the homeowners on a job like this, but today we're working for the pool guy. They got the pool square footage. The deck of the pool is going to be about 2,500 square feet. Now that's a big deck. Most concrete pool decks that we do in Maine, the average size is around 800 to 1,000 square feet. So this one's more than double the average size. It's going to be absolutely huge. That's a lot of ground, exterior ground to go over, you know, for a state that has basically 4 months of winter. There's no guarantees the concrete won't crack somewhere other than a saw joint or a groove tool joint when we do concrete pool decks like this, putting them outside in Maine. Now we usually have pretty good luck as long as the sub base is done right, you know, enough gravel's put in, it's compacted right. And then, you know, we pour usually 4 inches of concrete for the pool deck. We put in either wire mesh or a rebar mat. We cut plenty of joints. We don't usually have an issue with them cracking outside a joint, but you never know when something, especially something that big. So the convenience, you can see the convenience of using the conveyor truck right there. One guy can pretty much get the concrete in place, and then another guy just kind of rakes it around a grade, trying to get it as close to the top of that concrete form as possible. That leaves, if you got 3 guys like we do, that leaves the 3rd guy to kind of mag the edges, set your grades, and just make sure everything else is ready to go for the screeding part like this. Now the power troweling's coming right up. The key to power troweling something like this is basically the timing. If you know concrete, if you finish concrete, then you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, if this is something you're trying to do on your own, then you got to get a little knowledge base, you know, to start with before you actually attempt something like this. The best place to do that, quite honestly, is the Concrete Underground. That's my private training. I got a link for that down in the description. I go over everything that you need to do from forming stuff like this to pouring it like we're doing right now. The power troweling part is in there. You'll see kind of like what I'll be doing here in just a minute. And the timing of the power troweling is really the most important part of it. And actually knowing how to run a power trowel isn't that easy to run. It's not as easy as we make it look. It has a certain way you have to handle it. A certain thing you got to do with the handles to make it move right, make it move left, and to not, you know, have it be out of control. So, you know, you're really going to want to learn a little bit about it first before you actually attempt it. So here we are. We got the pour done. Probably took us 30 minutes so to pour this, get it nice and bull floated. And then we had about an hour to wait. And here you can see how windy it is. This is one of the things we had to deal with today. It was about gusts of wind up to about 40 miles an hour. And another thing that was real tricky was there was these pine trees kind of in the background. And not only just the pine trees, but some other stuff, some other debris from these other trees was blowing all over the floor. And you can't, you know, we didn't want to just trowel them in, all that stuff into the surface of the floor. So we had to continually blow the stuff off. You can kind of see the stuff right there as I'm getting on it. Now this is the timing part. Again, this was a little over an hour after the pour. You can see as I'm stepping on it, I'm just barely sinking in. Me and the boys are barely sinking in, maybe a 1/16 of an inch, you know, so you can still feel it under your feet. It's a little bit soft, so you want to walk kind of carefully so you're not leaving, you know, big heel marks in the concrete. But we don't want it any softer than this. That would be too early, too fast to start finishing. But you still have to know how fast to get from one end to the other. Like, how long is it going to take you to power trowel this? And that kind of determines, you know, if you've never done it, obviously you don't know. So that's real key as far as learning how to power trowel. And then again, I go over all this training in my Concrete Underground course, but it's a little hard to explain here in one you know, 15 or 20 minute video. But this is the basic part of getting you a really nice, smooth, finished concrete floor. It takes multiple hits with a power trowel. You're not just going to go over this thing once and be done. You're going to go over it 4 or 5, maybe 6 times in different stages, letting the concrete kind of cure up and dry up in between. Otherwise, you're just going to create a big mess, and it's going to look worse than after you bull floated it smooth. This was what we call a really creamy mix, especially on a windy day like today. Usually the wind will want to dry the surface out and make it a little more difficult to power trowel. But this stuff actually finished up really good. So there's the end of hit number 1. Here's hit number 2. Probably gave it 15-20 minutes in between. Let the surface dry up a little more. Again, we come back on. We're doing the edges. We're smoothing around all the pipes. We go around the outside edges by hand, get them nice and smooth. And then we start up. Now I'm just using a little 30-inch power trowel today. We got like 3 of these. I think I got 5 or 6 of the 36-inch power trowels. I got a couple of the 48-inch power trowels. On the smaller jobs, these little ones just come in kind of handy. Now another thing that I see a lot of guys don't do when they finish concrete like this is they don't follow a pattern. We follow a pattern for a specific reason. And if you're not following some type of pattern, if you're just randomly going over the slab, you definitely don't know what you're doing. You're not a pro, and I don't mean that in a bad way. You just don't know. So I explain all this again in my training if you want to learn how to do this. But this is really important for getting a really nice flat concrete floor and not creating extra humps with the power trowel. So again, a little bit earlier in the finishing process, I said you're going to go over this multiple times. Now that actually looks pretty smooth there, but the surface is still kind of rough from the blades. And I would, like, if you wanted this thing to be pretty easy to sweep, I wouldn't leave it like that. If you want it with a little texture, maybe for an exterior surface, then you could leave it like that. But you're still going to see those power trowel marks. They won't go away. That'll be what it looks like. So again, another probably 20 minutes. I left it just sitting like that, blowing off all the pine needles, and all the little debris from the trees. And that stuff's still coming down as I'm power troweling, so I'm trying to avoid. I got my little blower out there with me if I need it, but I'm trying to avoid all that stuff if I can. And again, hitting this again in a different direction than the previous hit, very important. The thing's getting smoother and smoother now every time I hit it with a power trowel when I let it dry up in between. Let me know what kind of questions you have about, finishing concrete, if you need help with it, or what's the hardest part for you to determine. You can see I'm kind of using my little blower there as I'm blowing the pine needle. The pine needles are the hardest thing to get off. Alright, so that's the third hit right there. I'm going around really smoothing out the edges. The edges are getting really smooth now. Getting around, that's actually a floor drain in there. The plumber forgot to put the top on. So we did taper that a little bit around that little pipe. And then, I don't know what the other pipes are. Probably for like kitchen, bathroom type thing. This is hit number 4. Darren's getting rid of all the debris for me. Again, as the slab gets smoother, if you hit it at the right time, it actually takes less time to hit it. This thing, the concrete's getting really smooth now. It's getting really hard, not sinking in at all. We could actually probably strip the forms on the outside right now if we wanted to. In the video, it does start looking really smooth. The next hit, you'll see this is hit number 4. Hit number 5, we are going to do one more hit after this. I call this, it's still a little bit fuzzy on the surface, and we like to kind of burn out the surface. We call it burned out, we call it shined out. You'll see here in a second, but we like to really make the surface smooth. If no one says anything to us about how they want it finished, then if we're doing a floor like this that's probably an interior floor, then we keep it really nice and smooth. We don't leave it fuzzy at all. Now, as it worked out, there was about Yeah, you can see it's kind of like, if you can tell, it's kind of like blackening out, kind of really getting smooth. That's what we call burnt out right there. So this will be the last hit. And I got the leaf blower right with me because I don't want to be grinding in. I don't want the blades to grind anything into the surface if the wind blows something on the surface. And then Luke's going to saw this. You'll see just how we saw cut all our floors the same day. That's really the key to help controlling shrinkage cracks. This thing's going to shrink the most in the first 24 hours of curing. So if you give it a place to shrink, because concrete, let's face it, all concrete cracks eventually. But if you give it a place, a really nice straight saw cut, score it like that, then we have really good luck with it cracking right in the saw cut. So you can't, most people don't even know there's a crack. You can see Luke stripping the forms off it already. I'm going to pick that up with the crane, get it put in the truck, get it cleaned up, and then we're just going to mark out for the saw cuts. We're going to put one down the middle each way. That'll be enough to control the cracks in this size slab right here. Cutting these things is also kind of an art, you know, getting used to using that green cutting saw there that we're going to be using there in the background, like Luke is right now, you know, and keeping those saw cuts nice and straight and being able to lift the saw up, turn direction, put it back down in the saw cut without shutting the saw off. That's an art all in itself. That takes some practice. To Luke and Darren, that's nothing. These guys, they do it every single day, so it's actually pretty easy. Now the blade, the saw cut, the diamond blade goes down about an inch and a quarter in the concrete. So cutting down into the 4-inch concrete, you know, a quarter of the thickness, almost guarantees it'll crack in that joint. There's never a guarantee because I've seen some really weird things, but like I said, we have really good luck with doing this way. And this is, I mean, this is probably 15 minutes after we pulled the power trowel off. We're right back on it sawing. That's how hard the concrete sets up, and it's not even noontime yet. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments, what kind of questions you got about the whole process. If you want to learn more about this, again, click on the link for the Concrete Underground down in the description, and we'll talk to you on the next one.